The wait is over. It is Tennessee football game week. It's been a long off season. We got a game coming up on Saturday. A lot of predictions, season predictions, two deep predictions coming up on your Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. This is your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. This is presented by Gametime. You can download the Gametime app, create an account, and use that promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We got a fun show here today. I'm your host, Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here. You can always find me at _Cainer on Twitter, at Locked On Vols. Twitter Tuesday, mailbag edition of the show. That is tomorrow. That's how you send in your questions, or on the YouTube channel. You everydayers know where to find it. I appreciate you guys for watching and listening wherever you get your podcast. So, in honor of game week, let's come out bold. Let's come out on a Monday morning and give you a lot of my predictions. Segment 1, win-loss predictions for the season. I've already told you kind of what I feel about win-loss projections, but I'll remind you about that. We'll go game by game here in segment number 1. And in honor of the first depth chart from the University of Tennessee coming out later today at Josh Heupel's game week opening day press conference, I'm going to project the two deep, both on offense and defense. That and a whole lot more right here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here. We'll dive that down into it. Those of you guys that subscribe and watch us over at volquest.com and read all of our work, we did season predictions on Friday afternoon, and my season prediction was 9-3. I think this team can certainly win 10 games. In fact, going into the season, this team is favored to win all but 2 games, so favored to win 10 games on the year. ESPN believes that ESPN's SP Plus rankings believes Tennessee is going to be 8-4. I think Tennessee is going to be better than that. Again, we just talk and we talk and we talk, and it's all about quarterback play, and we won't know that until we see week after week after week. I think with good quarterback play, of course, Tennessee can win 10 games this year. So I picked 9-3. And before we go on into the win-loss of the schedule, I think that third loss, right now I'd have Tennessee losing in Tuscaloosa and losing at home against Georgia. That means Tennessee can't win those games. They absolutely can win those games. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say Tennessee's going 12-0. That's just not who I am. And you'd be kidding yourself, quite frankly, if you think that I was going to do that. But I think Tennessee can be 9-3. And that third loss would come in a variety of these toss-up games, right? I mean, at Florida, A&M at home, South Carolina at home, Kentucky on the road. I think Tennessee could drop one of those 4 games and finish with a 9-3 record. And again, if Tennessee finishes with a 9-3 record, that's a good year. That's a really good year. And in my opinion, that puts Tennessee back, because that would be only the second 9-win regular season since 2007. Of course, the first 9-win regular season since 2007 was this past year. That shows you that the program is recruiting and developing at a high level. It can accommodate for guys off to the NFL at key positions. Hendon Hooker at quarterback, Byron Young on the defensive line, Darnell Wright, top 10 pick on the offensive line. If Tennessee finishes 9-3, it shows me that this program is healthy and it truly is back. So anyway, we'll go through it. And again, Tennessee could beat Florida but lose to South Carolina, or lose to South Carolina and beat A&M, or beat A&M and lose to Kentucky. I have Tennessee winning or losing one of those 4 games, meaning Tennessee will finish 9-3. Virginia, coming up on Saturday. We'll talk loads and loads of Virginia this week. I think Tennessee can win that game by 30. I just don't think Virginia is a very good football team. I'll dive more down deep into it this week, have first glance and all that, and more game previews coming up Thursday and Friday. But I just think this is going to be a cakewalk for the University of Tennessee. So that's 1-0. Austin Peay is what it is. Tennessee is 2-0. At Florida, again, I mean, Tennessee should absolutely smack Florida, in my opinion. I do not think Florida's a very good football team. Could Florida be better than what people like me are believing? Sure. You still have a roster filled with some good players, right? Just not as many as normal. At quarterback, it's just not good. It's just not good whatsoever. And you got some injuries on defense. You lost some key defensive personnel and Ventrell Miller in the middle and all that. So I've got questions about Florida. I think Tennessee should smoke Florida, but this game is in the Swamp. And I'm not big on, 1 year carrying over the next year, but, quite frankly, Tennessee hasn't won in the Swamp since 2003. It's just a place that Tennessee doesn't win. I'm going to pick Tennessee to win this game because, quite frankly, if there's ever a year to win in the Swamp, it's this year. I don't think Florida's very good, so I'm going to have Tennessee winning that football game and starting the season 3-0. UTSA, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, that's a trap game. Watch out, UT." I mean, it's national media plaudits out here saying, "Watch out, UTSA could give Tennessee a run for their money." I think UTSA's got a really, really good quarterback who's in his 7th year in college. Yes, you heard that right, 7th year in college. His name is blanking on me right now, but I knew it yesterday. I think this is going to be an explosive offense, but at the end of the day, I think blocking and tackling and line of scrimmage is going to take over, and I think Tennessee will beat that UTSA team by a couple of scores. So Tennessee starts out 4-0. South Carolina at home. I do not believe Tennessee loses to South Carolina this year, and I think if Josh Heupel wants to, if Josh Heupel can, he would win this game by 100 points. I think this is the one that Josh Heupel wants the most. And it's like, oh, what about Alabama? Oh, what about Georgia? I hear you. But South Carolina, a lot went into that game last year. South Carolina embarrassed Tennessee last year, knocked them out of the playoff race and all that. There's a lot that went into that game, and I think Josh Heupel wants that game more than anything. So I've got Tennessee beating South Carolina at home. So situated right before the off week, October the 7th, I have Tennessee starting 5-0. Really good start. In order for me to have that 9-3 record, Tennessee's got to drop one of the next 2 toss-up games, either being A&M or Kentucky. Tennessee can win both those games, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to pick Tennessee to win 10 games here in the preseason. That's just kind of how I always am. I'm conservative, and Tennessee can certainly win 10 games, and we will see, and I'll be happy to be wrong, but that's just kind of, again, it's only happened once, okay, since 07, and that was last year. And I think this team is talented enough, but, preseason I'll go 9-3. With that being said, I will have Tennessee losing to Texas A&M at home coming off the off week. And here's the thing, that A&M game is positioned perfect on the schedule, right? They play Alabama the week before. Tennessee has an off week. It's at home. All things pointing big orange in this one. There's so much talent on that roster. Such an underachieving coaching staff with Jimbo Fisher. But if Bobby Petrino works out, that could be a dangerous, dangerous football team with a pretty solid quarterback in Connor Wagman. So in order to get to 9-3, I will have Tennessee losing that game against Texas A&M. That's just kind of what it is. At Alabama, Tennessee can certainly win this game. Alabama's got tremendous questions at quarterback, still do, but it's got a good offensive line. It's got a good run game. It's got a good receiver. It's got a good defense. I think it's one of the better rosters in college football. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I mean, it just is what it is. Alabama and Georgia still, are on a different level, if you will, in terms of roster management and roster depth. And that game is going to be at home. And Alabama, much like Tennessee and South Carolina, going to be looking for some revenge here. So I'll have Tennessee losing on the road to Alabama. That's 2 losses in a row. Not very good, but Tennessee will get back on track at Kentucky. Tremendously tough physical football game going to be at Kroger Field on October the 28th. This is a tough stretch. A&M, at Alabama, at Kentucky. You guys know my thoughts on Kentucky. I think Kentucky's going to be better. I think they are tremendously better at quarterback. I think as long as you can block and protect Leary and get a nice little run game, you're going to be pretty solid. Went out and got a really nice running back in Ray Davis. One of the best skill position rooms in the SEC, in my opinion. Really good at the line of scrimmage. Tennessee wins this game. Tennessee and Kentucky, it's always a big-time rivalry game. Tennessee's got great success up there at Kroger Field. I still like Tennessee coming off a tough stretch here of A&M and Alabama, looking to win a rivalry game on the road. So I got Tennessee winning that game. UConn at home for homecoming. Tennessee wins that one at Missouri. Missouri's defense is much better, and I think Missouri will be a little bit better than people want to give them credit for this year. But the fact remains Tennessee has scored 767 points against Missouri the last 2 years, and I don't see that stopping. I like Tennessee at Missouri to win big. Georgia at home. Man, could Tennessee be undefeated at this point in time? Very well could. Very well could. Georgia will likely be undefeated at this time. This could be the game of the year, not only in the SEC, but in college football. It's at Neyland Stadium. How's Carson Beck at quarterback? Where the injury front on both sides of the football for Tennessee and Georgia? How is Joe Milton progressing? Is that offensive line settled in? I mean, guys, this game is in November the 18th, so really predicting this game right now is just foolish in my opinion, but we'll do it just because that's what we do. I'll have Tennessee losing this game at Neyland Stadium, but man, that could be just a fantastic football game at Neyland. Home field advantage would be huge. And then Tennessee will beat Vanderbilt by however much Tennessee wants to beat Vanderbilt. So, game by game, 9-3. And again, I think preseason predictions are kind of foolish because What we know about Tennessee right now could be a different football team 4 weeks from now. What we know about South Carolina could be a different football team 2 weeks from now. That's why you play the games. But that's why we have this conversation right here to start off the season. I have Tennessee going 9-3. Lock it in with Tennessee favored to win 10 games in the regular season. Could it win 9 games in the regular season or more for the second time since 2007? We will find out. I can't wait to watch this Tennessee team get underway, and that's all going to start right here on Saturday, and we'll have complete coverage right here on Locked On Vols after that game against Virginia. All right, when we come back, we'll dive into the projected 2-deep with the 2-deep coming out in the first game notes later today. I will give you my guesses on who will be at the 2-deep of each position. That is coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Now it's time for your game changer of the week, and it's brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Much like Joe Milton, Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the game for non-alcoholic beer game. All right, let me try that again. Change the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. Joe Milton, mature. This is Joe Milton's football team. Accuracy has been improved greatly over the offseason. Joe Milton's going to be a game changer for Tennessee football, just like our friends Athletic Brewing Company for non-alcoholic beers. Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good, full flavor, and well-crafted, just like full-strength beer. All right, you can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic beers at a store near you. To buy online, that's athleticbrewing.com. Athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use the promo code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first online order. That's Locked On, LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer. Exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company. Athletic Brewing Company. Fit for all times. All right, guys, welcome back into it. This is your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. It is game week, so happy to be here. The season is finally here. We'll have complete Virginia coverage as the week goes on. We'll have some guests on, and then we'll get into our game week coverage, recapping the games on Monday. We'll have Pro Football Focus Wednesdays. Boogie Bentley is going to be joining the show, I believe, on Fridays when there's some crossover edition opportunities with the Locked On Network. We're going to do those on Thursdays, so it's going to be a really, really fun time, and I'm so excited that you're here. It's your number one place to get all your Tennessee Volunteers news, entertainment, questions answered, all that good stuff every single day, 30 minutes or less right here on Locked On Vols. All right, so Josh Heupel will open up game week later today at 12:30 Eastern Time, and he will have his first game week press conference. And in that game week press conference, Tennessee will hand out game notes, and inside those game notes will be the first official 2-deep, the depth chart for Tennessee football offense and defense. And because of that, we're going to go ahead and project what I think is going to be at each position. A lot of these are going to be super simple. And remember, just because I'm only going to name, 2 names here, doesn't mean that others won't play, okay? So it's important to remember that. There will be a lot of ands. There will be a lot of ors. Left guard will be all ors. Right tackle will be ors. Okay? Some guys in the secondary will be ors or ands or stuff like that. So that's really, really important to remember, okay? Quarterback, we'll start there. Obviously, there's no ands, ors, buts about it. Number 1, the starter's Joe Milton. Number 2 is going to be Nico Iamaleava. Probably the simplest 2-deep to project, but that's what we're projecting here at quarterback, and that's exactly what's going to be on that sheet of paper later today. At running back, here's an and, okay? Because they're both going to play. Jalen Wright and Jabari Small are going to be your 1A running back, 1A, 1B, okay? They're going to be your first-string running backs. The backup is going to be Dylan Sampson. So Tennessee will play 3 running backs. Tennessee will primarily play those top 2 running backs, and Jabari Small and Jalen Wright, and that is what the depth chart's going to look like at the running back position. All right, at receiver, this one's going to get pretty interesting, okay? So your starter on one side is going to be Brew McCoy. His backup is going to be Caleb Webb. Your starter on the other side is going to be Ramel Keaton. His backup is going to be Chaz Nimrod. And at the slot position, you will have Dante Thornton and I actually want to put an and there because they're both going to play, Dante Thornton and Squirrel White. All right? So those are your 5 receivers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receivers. Your 6 receivers that are going to play meaningful snaps at the wide receiver position this year. And really, it's going to be that top 4, Brew McCoy, Ramel Keaton, Dante Thornton, and Squirrel White. But Squirrel White and Dante Thornton are both going to play in the slot, and if an injury were to happen, there's versatility there with Dante Thornton to bump out to the outside as well if needed be, right? So that's kind of what it's going to look like at wide receiver. Chaz Nimrod and Caleb Webb will kind of be the backups to those top 4. And then it gets interesting as you look at the offensive line. We'll go to tight end first. Jacob Warren's going to be your starter. McCallan Castles will be the backup. I expect Ethan Davis to play a little bit as well, okay? Offense is pretty easy to project, in my opinion, because, there are a lot of these are kind of set in stone outside of the offensive line. And now let's get to that offensive line. What am I expecting to see on the 2-deep for Tennessee's first game notes coming up later today at Josh Heupel's press conference? All right, I'm going to go ahead and get out there. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a coach. This is nothing final or anything. This is my opinion, things I've heard, and this is just kind of my opinion. I do not think Cooper Mays will play in the season opener. All right, I've not thought that for a while now. Okay, there's a reason why whenever I talk offensive line, he's not really in the conversation right now because he is, getting over a minor procedure. I don't think, obviously, this is season ending or anything, but I don't think that he's going to be ready for the opener, and I think it'll be very much a week-by-week situation, so until he's back, and so we'll see what happens. But I'm not expecting Cooper Mays to play in the opener, and so because of that, you're going to get some big-time musical chairs on that offensive line. I believe the 2-deep at left tackle will say John Campbell, Gerald Mincey. Okay, no surprise there. At right tackle, I believe it's going to be Jeremiah Crawford or Gerald Mincey. But I think Jeremiah Crawford is going to be the starter on the right side. I think Gerald Mincey is going to play. At the center position, since Cooper Mays, I believe, is not going to be available, it's going to be Ollie Lane. That is my projection. It's going to be Ollie Lane. He's been going with the first team at center for the last 2.5 weeks. Again, he's a veteran. He's a 6-year guy. He's snapped the football a lot throughout practice in his career, but he's more of a guard. I don't think he's ever seen action as a center in a game, but he can do it, and he will be setting the tempo for this Tennessee offense. Behind Ollie Lane, I've got Dane Davis as your backup center with Cooper Mays out. Dane Davis, the ultimate swing guy. Backup tackle on both sides, can slide in, play a little guard, and now he's shown his worth that he could snap the football if needed and keep that tempo. Not a very good fall camp for Addison Nichols. Not a very good fall camp for, some of these other guys that were pushing to be that backup center. I mean, Vyson Lane's a true freshman. You give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he's kind of brand new, but that backup center position was up for the taking in spring and in fall camp. And, weeks before the season opener, you're having to shuffle down a guard to play center and have one of your tackles be the backup center. So that just kind of is where it is. So that's what I expect is the 2-deep without Cooper Mays at the center position. And Cooper Mays probably be on that 2-deep just because, Tennessee doesn't like to disclose injuries, and that is what it is. At right guard, it's going to be Javonte Spraggins. Okay, we know that. He's going to be the starter at right guard, easy money, and then Jackson Lampley will be his backup. And then at left guard, I think it'll be Andre Carrick or Ollie Lane or Addison Nichols. So Ollie Lane, when he's not playing center, he'll play guard. He is a guard. I think if Cooper Mays is back, Ollie Lane will play a whole lot of left guard for you. But Cooper Mays is not there right now. So Ollie Lane's having to play center. So I think Andre Carrick, the Texas transfer, will start at left guard. But I think you'll see a little bit of Addison Nichols. I think you'll see some Jackson Lampley there as well. So a lot of oars there at that left guard position. So that is what I think about the 2-deep for the Tennessee offense. Keep in mind, there's some names out there. Ethan Davis wasn't mentioned. I think he'll play at tight end. Cam Seldon wasn't mentioned at running back. I think he's going to be your kick returner. And I think that potentially in a blowout, you could see him get some snaps in the backfield. But overall, it's pretty cut and dry what we should expect about Tennessee's offense, even with the question marks on the offensive line. So that's a look at the offensive line. The 2-deep projection, we'll see how accurate I am when that 2-deep comes out later today with the Josh Heupel press conference. Hey, when we come back, we'll do the same thing, but we'll do it for the defensive side of the football, projecting the 2-deep for Tennessee's Tim Banks' unit, the defense. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Hey, buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets, the best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun that you're going to have. All right, flash deals like last-minute ticket sales you can find over at Gametime on the app and experience it today. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Again, we talk sports here, but also theater, music, concerts, all that type of more is all at Gametime on the app as well. They will send you images of your seats before you purchase them so you know exactly what you're getting. Plus, they have the lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and a whole lot more. The Gametime guarantee, it means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section, in the same row for less, Gametime will credit you 100% of the difference, 110% actually of the difference. So that's some awesome stuff you can get there at Gametime. So I encourage you today to download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We are projecting the 2 deep for Tennessee football as we are now officially in game week. Can't freaking believe it. Congratulations for surviving the offseason. And we got a Tennessee football game coming up on Saturday. Game notes coming up later today with Josh Heupel's game week opening press conference. In those game notes will be a 2 deep depth chart. So we are predicting the 2 deep depth charts. We got a little written article about this over volquest.com over the weekend. So maybe some of you guys have seen it. If not, I'm catching you up a little bit. But I have a couple of tweaks in there. I think collectively we did this as a staff, but I'll add my little flair into it as well. Don't forget, mailbag edition of the show. Any questions, any comments, concerns, whatever you guys have on Tennessee football, recruiting, basketball, baseball, whatever you guys have. Any questions on Virginia, get them in there at _Cainer and at Locked On Vols on Twitter. And you can fill up the comment section on YouTube for this episode and ask me any questions that you'd like. So let's go ahead and start on the defensive line. And I'll go ahead and say this, overall for defense, but especially on the defensive line, projecting starters is kind of pointless in my opinion because it is such a rotational side of the football. Defensive line is such a rotational position, especially too when you have different personnel packages, rabbits, which means get after the quarterback, nickel, goal line sets, fourth and short. There's different personnel packages, okay? So again, projecting starters, in my opinion, really means nothing because Rodney Gardner wants to play 10 to 12 guys on the defensive front, okay? At linebacker, they're going to want to play 5 linebackers, okay? In the secondary, I think that they're going to play a little bit more. So again, starters are just that. They're going to be the first ones out there. But a lot of this is rotation, so keep in mind that little disclaimer at the top. And again, I put this to someone got after me on and they were fine. But someone got after me on the message board over the weekend saying, why do you always have to put a disclaimer with everything? Well, because if I don't, then people think I'm a sunshine pumper or that I'm saying this, that I'm saying that. But I mean, this really is. It's needed because just because you're a starter on defense doesn't mean you're going to lead the defense in snaps. The better gauge in terms of starters is to look at the snap counts at the end of games or at the end of the season. That truly shows you who they trust. And so anyway, I'll bring those to you on the Pro Football Focus Wednesday right here on Locked On Balls. Let's start at defensive tackle, the interior. Some thin bodies there, only a couple, especially with the injury of Elijah Simmons right now. Of course, he's going to be out a couple weeks. But defensive tackle, a shade, a 1 technique, a 3 technique. Your 2 starters, Amari Thomas and Omar Norman Lott. Omar Norman Lott coming over from Arizona State. By the way, he got out of there in a hurry, didn't he? Because they got a little bit of a bowl ban, self-imposed. Hate that for him. But, I mean, I really do. I'm not being facetious when I say that. Omar Norman Lott has had a great offseason. Omar Norman Lott has come in and had a really good fall camp. They like his ability to rush the quarterback from the interior. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be a guy to look out for and a guy that can make plays for Rodney Gardner's group. So Omar Norman Lott and Amari Thomas, the 2 defensive tackle starters. They're backups, okay? Karak Garland, who's been here for a decade, and Bryson Eason. Elijah Simmons will be in that category as well, but again, he's out right now with injury. Those are your defensive tackles. Again, in Rabbits packages and pass rushing situations, you will have ends slide in and play defensive tackle to get more speed on the football. So, but in your normal defense, your big boys in the interior, Amari Thomas, Omar Norman Lott, your starters, my projection, and Karak Garland, Bryson Eason, their backups. Let's move on to the defensive end, or as I like to call it, the Latrell Bumpus position. Before him, it was, what was his name? I can see his face right now. Oh my gosh, what was his name? He was not a very good football player, but he played a lot of stats for Rodney Gardner in 2021. Gosh, oh my goodness. It's one of those weird names. Not Latrell Bumpus, but Blakely. Jaquan Blakely. Yes, that was going to bug the crap out of me if I didn't get it. That position, Tyler Barron's position, okay? It's strong side defensive end, if you will. Five technique and bump out a little bit more and play kind of on that outside, but they're not that Leo position. Your starter, I believe, again, very rotational. I think it'll be, Dominic Bailey or Tyler Barron, okay, depending on if Tyler Barron has a good warm-up, essentially, in my opinion. Those two guys are going to be your key guys at that defensive end position, and Tyree West will play at that position as well, but we're talking two deep here. Tyree West is going to be in that rotation. He's going to play a lot of football, okay? But we're kind of talking that position right there in Tyler Barron and or Dominic Bailey. Let's go to that Leo position. A lot of ors here, in my opinion. Roman Harrison will be your starter, and then it'll be James Pierce or Caleb Herring or Joshua Joseph. Joshua Joseph's, I didn't mean to put him third there, but Joshua Joseph's got a whole lot of run as a true freshman last year. I think he'll continue that climb. I think James Pierce has the highest ceiling of anybody. And I think Caleb Herring might be better than all of them, but of course he's a true freshman right now. So you're going to see a lot of guys play at that Leo position, but it's going to be led by Roman Harrison being the starter, okay, with the backups, James Pierce or Joshua Josephs, and then probably Caleb Herring behind those guys. All right, that's the defensive front. Let's go to linebacker, your two in-the-box linebackers. Pretty easy. Your starters are Aaron Beasley and Keenan Peely. The backups will be Arian Carter, a true freshman, and Elijah Herring, a sophomore. Caleb Perry is a guy that could potentially get some run. Jeremiah Thielander is a guy who could potentially get some run. But I think those four are your key four, and then Jeremiah Thielander and or Caleb Perry are kind of the next man up behind that. So linebacker's pretty simple. A lot of depth there. At cornerback, here's what I'm thinking. Danico Slaughter will be your one starter, and Kamal Haddon will be the other starter. I know a lot of people don't like Kamal Haddon. I hear you. But I do think healthy rotation, healthy competition, like Gabe Judy-Lawley and like Brandon Turnage, can create more of a rotational piece back there. But I think Danico Slaughter, the best talent-wise of any cornerback Tennessee has. And I think Kamal Haddon, who's had an exceptionally well offseason, a really good spring, didn't think he'd be on the roster to tell you the truth, had a really good spring, and had a really, really good fall camp. Got banged up a little bit, but he's had a really, really good fall camp. I think those two guys have had a really, really nice offseason. I think they'll be the starters. But the backups there, Gabe Judy-Lawley, transfer from BYU, and of course from Vanderbilt before that, and Brandon Turnage, I think would be those backups. And then at the safety position, I think your starters are going to be Wesley Walker and Jalen McCullough. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that last name, but Willie Martinez and Tim Banks love their veterans, and I think those guys will be up there and be the starters. I think the backups will be Andre Turrentine and then Jordan Thomas or Christian Charles. So I think you're going to get some oars in there as well. But I truly believe that just like the front seven, you will see more guys play in the secondary, and that's something that you haven't seen the first 2 years under Tim Banks here on this Tennessee defense. But I think that there are guys who have showed enough in fall camp and showed enough in the system, year 2, year 3 in the system, that when somebody gets beat over the middle, you can yank him out of the football game, put somebody else in there, and not just leave that same guy out there. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's going to be more of a rotation. Guys like Gabe Judy-Lawley is going to play. I think guys like Andre Turrentine can play at the safety position. We'll find out, but that's kind of my projection. So those are my projections for Tennessee's two deep in the game notes coming out later today. I will get it on my phone. I will take a screenshot and I will post it on my Twitter @_Cainer at some point in time when I get those game notes, and I'll let you guys see it visually as well. But these are my projections for what we're going to see later on today with Tennessee's first game notes. Game week is here. Virginia, Tennessee, Nashville, Nissan Stadium. That's coming up Saturday, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. local time. I can't wait. I know you can't wait. The offseason is over. Game week is here, and we've got all the coverage, the best coverage for Tennessee football right here on Locked On Vols. Couldn't do it without you. Shout out to you, everydayers. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen. Mailbag edition of the shows tomorrow. Get in your questions about anything Tennessee football related or Tennessee basketball, recruiting, hoops, baseball, @_Cainer, @Locked On Vols, and of course, you can always comment on the YouTube section. Appreciate you guys as always. We'll do it again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.